I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Right now, even as you rest, your mind is quietly working on something you haven't consciously touched in hours. You'll discover how your subconscious moves through problems while you sleep, and understand why the answer often arrives before you even ask the question. Welcome to Sleepy Science Facts. Wherever you are right now, perhaps lying in the familiar weight of your pillow, or noticing that soft heaviness beginning to settle through your limbs, allow yourself to simply arrive here. We'll journey through 100 psychology facts about the sleeping mind and inner peace. From the quiet laboratory where memory weaves itself into understanding, to the dreaming brain composing solutions, to the still center where clarity lives. This thoughtful journey through consciousness builds bridges between searching minds. A soft subscribe, like, or quiet share creates a pathway for more curious souls to discover and brings us closer to protect this sanctuary for every tired mind who finds their way here. One peaceful night, one sleepy soul at a time. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench, your breath deepen naturally. You can let these thoughts drift past without holding them. Sense that soothing heaviness enveloping you, like your consciousness slowly dimming its brightness. Thoughts dissolving into the peaceful fog of approaching sleep, safe and undisturbed. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're floating where memories rest safely in gentle darkness. Let your mind merge with infinite peace. And now we begin. Your subconscious mind never truly rests. While you sleep each night, a sophisticated layer of mental activity continues operating beneath awareness, quietly processing the unresolved questions of your day. Researchers studying brain activity during sleep have found that certain neural networks remain remarkably active long after you close your eyes. These networks do not simply idle. They replay, compare, and reorganize information gathered during waking hours. Think of it as a second shift beginning just as your conscious mind clocks out. For centuries, humans noticed that morning often brought clarity that evening lacked. Science has now begun to explain why. Tonight, as you drift, that quiet second shift is already beginning. The subconscious is patient. It works without your permission and without your worry. The word subconscious describes mental processes that occur just beneath the threshold of conscious awareness. Psychologists and neuroscientists sometimes use the term unconscious interchangeably, though they carry slightly different meanings depending on the tradition. What both terms point toward is the same quiet truth. A vast portion of your brain's daily work happens without your deliberate involvement. Estimates suggest that conscious thought may account for only a small fraction of total brain processing at any given moment. The rest unfolds automatically, shaped by memory, habit, and accumulated experience. Your subconscious has absorbed everything you have ever learned, every pattern you have ever noticed, every emotion that moved through you. It holds all of this, quietly, and it uses all of it, tonight. Sleep is not a passive state. From the earliest days of sleep science, researchers assumed that the sleeping brain was simply resting. Recordings of electrical brain activity told a very different story. During sleep, the brain passes through distinct stages. each with its own characteristic pattern of neural firing. Some stages look almost identical to wakefulness in terms of raw brain activity. The sleeping brain is not switched off. It is reorganizing, consolidating, and in ways researchers are still working to understand, creating. Every night you sleep, you are participating in one of the most complex biological processes known to science. You simply do it without noticing. That is, perhaps, the most elegant thing about it. Sleep unfolds in cycles of roughly 90 minutes. Each cycle moves through several distinct stages, including lighter sleep, deeper slow-wave sleep, and the vivid phase known as rapid eye movement sleep, or REM. A full night of healthy sleep typically includes 4 to 6 of these cycles, shifting in character as the night deepens. Early cycles contain more slow-wave sleep, which appears especially important for physical repair and memory consolidation. Later cycles contain longer stretches of REM sleep, the stage most associated with dreaming and emotional processing. The subconscious problem-solving that scientists study most intensively tends to happen across this entire arc, not in one stage alone, but woven through the night's full journey. One of the most well-documented functions of sleep is memory consolidation. During the day, your brain encodes new information in a relatively fragile form. Experiences, facts, skills, and emotional impressions are stored temporarily in a region called the hippocampus, a curved structure tucked deep within the brain. During sleep, and particularly during slow-wave sleep, the hippocampus replays these fresh memories and gradually transfers them to the cortex for longer-term storage. This process is sometimes called systems consolidation. It is one of the reasons that sleeping after learning something new improves retention significantly more than staying awake for the same amount of time. Sleep is not the absence of learning. It is, in many ways, the completion of it. Scientists have observed something remarkable during sleep memory replay. The hippocampus does not replay memories in random order. It appears to prioritize experiences that carry emotional weight or that remained unresolved during waking hours. Problems you were still thinking about when you fell asleep are among the most likely to be revisited. Your subconscious, it seems, is particularly drawn to open loops, unfinished questions, lingering uncertainties, and problems set aside without resolution all have a way of continuing beneath awareness. The sleeping brain picks them back up, not out of worry, but out of something closer to a gentle, persistent curiosity. It wants to close what was left open. The phenomenon known as incubation describes a well-studied pattern in creative and analytical thinking. A person works on a difficult problem, sets it aside, and later finds that a solution has appeared with seemingly little effort. Psychologists have studied incubation for more than a century. What sleep research has added is a clearer picture of what happens during the setting aside. It is not mere rest that produces the insight. It is unconscious, continued processing. The mind continues with the problem even after conscious attention has simply moved on. Sleep provides an unusually rich environment for this continued processing, free from the interruptions and social demands of waking life. A study design used frequently in sleep and creativity research involves presenting participants with a complex problem, allowing some to sleep between attempts and others to remain awake. Then measuring solution rates. Across numerous variations of this design, sleeping participants consistently show higher rates of discovering hidden rules, creative solutions, and novel approaches compared to those who remain awake for equivalent periods. The effect is not explained by rest alone. Wakeful rest, lying quietly without sleeping, does improve performance compared to active waking. But sleep produces a further and distinct advantage. Something about the specific biology of sleep, its rhythms, its chemistry, its unique neural states, supports a quality of processing that ordinary rest does not replicate. REM sleep holds a particular place in theories of subconscious problem solving. During REM, the brain operates in a state researchers sometimes describe as loosely associative. The normal constraints that govern waking thought, the tendency to stick with established categories and logical sequences, appear to relax. Neural connections that would not fire together during wakefulness become more likely to activate in combination. This loosening of associative boundaries is thought to be one reason that REM sleep supports creative insight. The mind, freed from its habitual pathways, can form connections between ideas that conscious reasoning would have dismissed or never considered. Dreams, vivid and strange as they sometimes are, may be the visible surface of this deeper creative work. The scientist Auguste Kekulé famously described arriving at the ring structure of benzene following a dream of a serpent biting its own tail. Whether or not the story is precisely accurate in every detail, it has become one of the most cited examples of subconscious creative insight. Kekulé's experience is not unique. Across the history of science, mathematics, music, and literature, creators have reported moments of breakthrough following sleep or hypnagogic states, the liminal zone between waking and sleeping. These reports span cultures and centuries. What sleep science has offered in recent decades is not the discovery of this phenomenon, but the beginning of a biological explanation for why it happens with such regularity. The brain's default mode network is a collection of regions that become particularly active when a person is not focused on a specific external task. During resting wakefulness, this network hums with activity, supporting mind-wandering, self-reflection, and the kind of undirected thought that often produces unexpected connections. During certain stages of sleep, activity in the default mode network continues and even intensifies. Researchers studying this network have proposed that it plays a role in the integration of disparate memories and experiences, helping the mind draw meaning from the raw material of daily life. When you allow yourself simply to rest, and when you sleep, this network does some of its most useful work. The quiet mind is not an idle mind. Slow-wave sleep, also called deep sleep or N3 sleep, is the stage during which the brain produces its characteristic slow, large electrical oscillations. These slow waves appear to coordinate the movement of information between the hippocampus and the cortex. During these waves, the brain essentially replays compressed versions of recent experiences, stitching them into existing networks of knowledge. Some researchers describe this as the brain asking, "Where does this fit?" It is searching for the context that makes new information meaningful. A problem encountered during the day does not arrive in sleep as an isolated puzzle. It arrives embedded in everything you already know, and the sleeping brain has the time and the stillness to find where the connections lie. Sleep also plays a role in emotional regulation that connects deeply to inner peace. During waking hours, the amygdala, a structure central to the processing of emotional experience, responds to both threatening and rewarding stimuli. Its responses can feel immediate and overwhelming. During REM sleep, norepinephrine, a neurochemical associated with alertness and the stress response, falls to its lowest levels of the entire day. This distinctive neurochemical quiet during REM may create conditions in which the brain can revisit emotionally charged memories from a calmer internal state, gently reconsolidating them without the full weight of the original stress response. This idea remains an active area of research, and the evidence, while compelling, is still developing. Sleep may be one of the gentlest forms of emotional processing available to the human brain. The phrase, "sleep on it," is one of the oldest pieces of practical wisdom in human culture. Variations of this advice appear across languages, traditions, and centuries of recorded human experience. What is striking is how consistently this advice proves sound when tested scientifically. People who sleep between encountering a problem and attempting to solve it outperform those who work without interruption. Not marginally, but substantially. The advice was good long before anyone understood why it was good. The subconscious was always doing the work. Human intuition simply recognized it and found a phrase simple enough to pass down through generations, across every language, as an uncomplicated truth. One of the more elegant discoveries in sleep research involves what scientists call targeted memory reactivation. During slow-wave sleep, researchers have played sounds or smells that were present during a learning session. The brain, upon detecting these cues, appears to preferentially replay the associated memories. In studies of this kind, participants who received sleep time cues showed significantly better retention of the associated material than those who did not. The findings suggest that the sleeping brain is not simply replaying memories at random. It is responsive to context, to association, to the threads that connect one piece of information to another. The subconscious, it turns out, can be gently pointed towards specific problems. It takes the suggestion and does the rest on its own. Dreams have long been associated with problem-solving and creative insight across human cultures. Ancient Egyptians built temples specifically for the practice of incubation dreaming, in which a person would sleep in a sacred space with the intention of receiving guidance through dreams. Ancient Greek traditions involved similar practices. Indigenous cultures on every continent have developed frameworks for understanding dreams as a source of wisdom, warning, or direction. Modern psychology does not share the specific cosmological frameworks of these traditions, but it has arrived at something they would likely recognize. The dreaming mind is not simply generating noise. It is doing something meaningful, even when its methods look nothing like ordinary reason. The hypnagogic state, the brief transition between wakefulness and sleep, has attracted the attention of researchers interested in creativity and subconscious processing. During hypnagogia, the brain produces a mix of waking and sleeping activity. Images, sounds, and thoughts arise spontaneously, sometimes with vivid clarity. Associations form freely, unconstrained by the logical framework of full wakefulness. Several historically celebrated thinkers, including Thomas Edison and Salvador Dali, reportedly developed deliberate practices for harvesting hypnagogic insights. They would rest in a chair holding a key or a ball bearing, so that as they drifted towards sleep and their muscles relaxed, the falling object would wake them, returning them to full consciousness with whatever the hypnagogic state had offered. The threshold between waking and sleeping, they understood, was a productive place. Modern researchers have revisited this hypnagogic insight practice in controlled settings. In a study published in Science Advances, researchers presented participants with a mathematical problem containing a hidden shortcut. Those who drifted into the earliest stage of sleep, what scientists call N1, without falling into deeper sleep, showed a rate of discovering the hidden rule nearly 3 times higher than those who remained fully awake. Participants who drifted into deeper N2 sleep lost this advantage entirely. The N1 state appears to offer some of the associative looseness of sleep while preserving enough awareness to carry insights back to waking consciousness. The doorway between sleeping and waking is not simply a transition. It is, itself, a place of particular mental possibility. Sleep deprivation has well-documented effects on creative thinking and problem-solving. When people are consistently underslept, their ability to form novel connections between ideas declines measurably. They become more likely to apply familiar strategies to new problems, less able to recognize when a fresh approach is needed. The subconscious processing that supports insight appears to require adequate sleep to function well. This is one reason that the most productive periods in the careers of scientists, artists, and innovators are not typically characterized by sleeplessness. The cliché of the brilliant person working through the night exists, but the research suggests that the nights of good sleep surrounding those late sessions may contribute as much to any breakthrough as the hours of waking effort. The rest, it turned out, was doing its own kind of work. There is a category of problem known in psychology as the insight problem. These are puzzles that resist incremental progress and tend to be solved, if they are solved at all, in a sudden moment of recognition rather than through step-by-step reasoning. The aha moment associated with insight problems has a distinctive neural signature. Brain imaging studies have shown that just before an insight arrives, there is often a burst of activity in the right temporal lobe and a brief quieting of visual processing regions, as if the brain momentarily turns its attention inward to retrieve a connection that was always there but not yet accessible. Sleep appears to prime this retrieval mechanism. The answer is found not by forcing it, but by resting until the mind is ready to see it. The relationship between sleep and inner peace is not only cognitive, it is deeply physiological. During sleep, the body's stress hormone, cortisol, drops to its lowest levels of the day. Blood pressure decreases. Heart rate slows and steadies. The parasympathetic nervous system, associated with rest and recovery, becomes more dominant. This physical quieting creates the conditions in which the nervous system can genuinely restore itself. People who sleep well report not only feeling more mentally clear but more emotionally settled, more patient, more able to encounter difficulty without being overwhelmed. The inner peace that sleep supports is not simply a feeling, it is a measurable biological state, one the body knows how to reach every night. given the conditions to do so. Research into the glymphatic system has added a striking dimension to our understanding of sleep's restorative function. This network of channels surrounding blood vessels appears to clear waste products from neural tissue far more actively during sleep than during wakefulness. In animal studies, the interstitial space between brain cells expands during sleep, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to flow more freely through the tissue. In humans, recent research has confirmed that sleep actively enhances the clearance of proteins associated with neurodegenerative disease. Though the precise cellular mechanisms are still being mapped, the sleeping brain is not only processing information. It is, in some measurable sense, cleaning itself, removing the metabolic byproducts of a day of thinking and feeling. Rest is, in a very literal sense, renewal. The concept of inner peace has roots in nearly every philosophical and contemplative tradition humans have developed. In Buddhist thought, the term refers to a state of mental equanimity, not dependent on external circumstances. In Stoic philosophy, it describes a similar quality, the ability to remain centered regardless of what occurs in the world. In modern psychology, related concepts appear under terms like psychological well-being, resilience, and emotional regulation. What all of these frameworks share is the recognition that a certain quality of inward stillness is both achievable and worth pursuing. Sleep, though rarely discussed in these philosophical contexts, supports the very neurological conditions that make such stillness possible. It is difficult to find inner peace from a place of chronic exhaustion. The body knows this, even when the mind resists acknowledging it. Mindfulness, meditation, and sleep share some interesting neurological territory. Research has found that experienced meditators show changes in brain regions associated with attention, emotional regulation, and self-awareness. These are many of the same regions involved in healthy sleep architecture and the kind of subconscious integration that supports insight. Some researchers have begun to explore whether meditation and sleep may produce complementary effects on the brain, with each supporting states of awareness and processing that reinforce the other. People who develop a regular meditation practice often report improvements in sleep quality, and those who sleep well tend to find it easier to sustain the calm attention that meditation cultivates. The two practices, it seems, are not separate paths. They circle the same quiet center. The subconscious mind does not only solve problems presented to it deliberately, it works on the problems that matter most to you, whether or not you have explicitly asked it to. The worries you carry without resolution, the relationships that puzzle you, the questions about meaning and direction that surface in quiet moments. These become the material the sleeping mind works with. Scientists studying this effect describe it in terms of emotional memory consolidation. The brain, during sleep, does not merely archive events. It processes them, contextualizes them, and in some cases appears to soften them. The weight of something that felt overwhelming before sleep sometimes feels lighter in the morning, not because the situation has changed, but because something within the mind has shifted quietly during the night. Let's pause here and notice your body. As you breathe out slowly, appreciate each tiny cell inside. Trillions of organisms working in silence. Heart beating, lungs breathing, brain thinking, all without your command. Right now, as you rest, your mind is quietly sorting the day, deciding what to keep and what to gently release. Notice the gentle sensations on your skin, in your muscles, along your spine. You are a complete ecosystem, diverse, self-balancing, always tending toward equilibrium. You don't need to direct any of it. It already knows what to do. Now we continue. Memory consolidation during sleep is not a simple copying process. The brain does not store experiences the way a recording device stores audio. Every time a memory is retrieved during sleep, it appears to enter a briefly flexible state before being restored. Scientists call this reconsolidation. During reconsolidation, the memory can be modified. Emotional intensity can diminish. Context can shift. Connections to other memories can form or dissolve. This means that sleep is not simply preserving your past exactly as it occurred. It is slowly refining your understanding of it. Each night of sleep participates in the gradual, ongoing process of deciding what your experiences mean and how they fit into the larger story of who you are. Problem-solving during sleep appears to work most effectively when the problem has been consciously engaged with before sleeping. Researchers have found that deliberately thinking through a challenge before bed, without forcing a solution, primes the subconscious to continue working on it during sleep. This is sometimes called intention setting or problem incubation priming. The mechanism is not fully understood, but it likely relates to the way memory encoding works. A problem that has been actively processed during wakefulness is more likely to be flagged for replay and further processing during sleep. You cannot hand the subconscious a problem it has never seen, but you can present it clearly, and then allow yourself to rest with the trust that the work will continue. There is a quality of trust involved in allowing the subconscious to work. This is something contemplative traditions have long pointed toward, and something that sleep scientists are beginning to describe in their own language. The conscious mind tends toward control. It wants to hold the problem, turn it over, keep working. The act of setting it down, of releasing it into the darkness of sleep, requires a kind of faith in processes that are not directly observable. Research suggests this faith is well-founded. The subconscious is genuinely more capable in certain domains than the conscious mind. Problems that resist direct attack sometimes yield to the indirect, patient, unhurried processing that sleep provides. Slow-wave sleep, the deepest stage of sleep, is most abundant in the first half of the night. This is the stage associated most strongly with declarative memory consolidation, the kind of memory involved in fact, events, and conscious knowledge. It is also the stage during which the body does much of its physical repair. Growth hormone is released. Cellular maintenance ramps up. The immune system strengthens its activity. The first hours of sleep carry a particular depth of restoration, one that unfolds most freely when the body is simply allowed to rest. They are the hours during which the subconscious does some of its most structured, deliberate processing. The early night is, in many ways, the foundation on which the rest of the mind's nocturnal work is built. REM sleep becomes more dominant in the second half of the night. When sleep is cut short, it is disproportionately REM sleep that is lost. And it is REM sleep that appears most important for creative insight, emotional processing, and the formation of novel associations. This is one reason that the consequences of chronic mild sleep reduction often include not only fatigue and difficulty concentrating, but also a subtle narrowing of perspective. The world begins to look more fixed, more limited, less available to reinterpretation. When REM sleep is consistently adequate, the world looks a little more open, a little more capable of being approached from an unexpected angle. Sleep shapes not just how well you think, but how flexibly you see. The idea that inner peace might be partly a function of biology is one that some people find uncomfortable. There is a desire to locate peace entirely in the realm of choice, of discipline, of spiritual practice. And those things matter. But biology matters too. The nervous system has states. Some are conducive to peace and some are not. Sleep is one of the most powerful, accessible, and evidence-supported ways of moving the nervous system toward its more peaceful states. This is not a reduction of peace to mere chemistry. It is a recognition that the body and the mind are not separate systems, and that caring for one is always, in some way, caring for the other. Research into what makes certain people more resilient in the face of stress has consistently pointed towards sleep as a key factor. People who sleep well are better able to regulate their emotional responses to difficult events. They show less activity in the amygdala in response to emotional stimuli when they have slept adequately, and more effective modulation of that activity by the prefrontal cortex, the region associated with thoughtful, considered response. Sleep is, in measurable neurological terms, a prerequisite for the kind of emotional regulation that resilient people demonstrate. You cannot think your way to resilience while chronically exhausted. But a well-slept brain has access to capacities that the exhausted brain genuinely cannot reach. The prefrontal cortex, sometimes described as the seat of executive function, is particularly sensitive to the effects of insufficient sleep. Even a single night of poor sleep measurably reduces prefrontal activity and impairs the judgment, impulse control, and perspective-taking that the prefrontal cortex supports. When this region is underperforming, the amygdala's more reactive responses become less modulated. Emotions feel more immediate, more difficult to hold with any distance. Adequate sleep restores this capacity, not as a luxury, but as a biological function the brain requires to operate as it is designed to. A well-rested brain finds equanimity more easily, not through effort, but because the architecture that supports it has been quietly renewed overnight. Dreams, for most of human history, have been understood as communication. From the ancient world to indigenous traditions across every continent, dreams were read as messages from ancestors, from deeper wisdom, from forces beyond ordinary understanding. Modern neuroscience does not interpret dreams in these terms, but it has arrived at a recognition that dreams are not meaningless noise either. They are the visible surface of an active process of integration and meaning-making. Whether a dream is understood as a message from somewhere beyond, or as the brain's own associative activity seen from the inside, the underlying experience is the same. Something important is happening. The sleeping mind is working. And sometimes, it produces something worth bringing back. Lucid dreaming. The state in which a dreamer becomes aware that they are dreaming while remaining within the dream, has attracted scientific attention for decades. Researchers have confirmed that lucid dreaming is a real and verifiable state, distinct from ordinary dreaming, in which activity in the prefrontal cortex increases relative to non-lucid REM sleep. Some researchers have explored whether lucid dreaming might allow deliberate engagement with subconscious problem-solving, essentially entering the workshop while it is in use. The findings are intriguing but not yet definitive. What the research does suggest is that the boundary between conscious awareness and the subconscious process of dreaming is more permeable than it might seem. The two can, under certain conditions, coexist within the same sleeping mind. There is a type of emotional processing that researchers call affect labeling, the practice of putting feelings into words. Brain imaging studies have shown that this practice reduces amygdala activation, essentially calming the emotional response by engaging language and meaning-making circuits. What is interesting is that the sleeping brain appears to engage in something analogous, finding the emotional context for experiences without the structure of deliberate language. During REM sleep, emotional memories are revisited in a state of neurochemical quiet, and over successive nights, the emotional charge associated with difficult experiences tends to soften. Sleep, in this sense, may be one of the most accessible and naturally occurring forms of emotional regulation available to the human brain. A nightly process of naming without words that the body has always known how to perform. Some of the most compelling evidence for subconscious problem-solving during sleep comes from studies of procedural learning, the kind of knowledge involved in physical skills. When people learn a complex motor sequence, sleeping after practice improves performance significantly more than an equivalent period of waking rest. The brain, during sleep, appears to replay and refine the motor programs associated with the skill, finding efficiencies and smoother sequences that practice alone had not produced. Musicians, athletes, and performers across many disciplines report this experience. The sense that a skill they struggled with before sleeping has somehow organized itself overnight. This is not imagination. It is observable neural replay, measurable in the sleeping brain, expressing itself in the performance of the woken one. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke once wrote that the questions themselves were worth living. He was speaking of patience with the unanswered, of trusting that in the living of a life, answers arrived in their own time. There is something in this that aligns, unexpectedly, with what sleep scientists have found. The subconscious does not deliver answers on demand. It works in its own time, at its own pace, through processes that are not directly accessible to the conscious will. The practice of sleeping on a problem is, in a sense, a practice of patience, of trusting that something in you is working, even when you cannot observe it, of accepting that not all problems are solved in the moment of effort. Some are solved in the stillness that follows. Heart rate variability is a measure of the variation in time between consecutive heartbeats. Higher heart rate variability is generally associated with better cardiovascular health, greater stress resilience, and more effective emotional regulation. Sleep quality is one of the strongest predictors of heart rate variability in otherwise healthy people. During slow-wave sleep in particular, the autonomic nervous system settles into a state of high parasympathetic dominance, and heart rate variability increases. The body, in deep sleep, finds a rhythm that reflects genuine biological peace. You cannot will this rhythm into existence. You can only create the conditions in which it arises naturally. And sleep is the most direct path to those conditions that most people have available to them every single night. One of the quieter gifts of human biology is the consistency with which the subconscious does its work, night after night, across an entire lifetime. You do not need to understand the process for it to function. You do not need to believe in it, practice it, or optimize it for it to run. It simply runs. Every night you sleep, your brain is consolidating memories, processing emotions, exploring associations, and in some cases, solving problems. This happens whether you remember your dreams or not, whether you feel rested in the morning or not, whether you are aware of any of it at all. The subconscious is not waiting for your attention. It is simply already working. It has always already been working. You're still here, still listening, still drifting with us through these quiet truths. Just notice where your mind is right now. Don't judge. Just notice. We're exploring consciousness itself, the very thing doing the exploring. Strange, beautiful, and perfectly calm. Let's drift onward together. The concept of psychological safety has become increasingly central in research on well-being and performance. It refers to the felt sense that one can be oneself without fear of judgment or pressure. Sleep researchers have begun to explore a related concept at the neurological level. When the brain feels safe, when the threat detection systems are not chronically activated, the conditions for deeper, more restorative sleep improve. Anxiety and hypervigilance are among the most common disruptions to sleep architecture. The sense of safety that supports healthy sleep is not simply a psychological preference. It is a biological prerequisite. Creating a genuine feeling of safety in the hours before sleep may be among the most practical things a person can do for the quality of their subconscious processing. The brain continues processing experience even during periods of quiet rest. But sleep offers something that resting wakefulness cannot fully replicate. During sleep, sensory input falls away almost entirely. The external world stops making demands. The internal environment shifts in chemistry, in electrical rhythm, in the balance of neuromodulators that shape how connections form. This combination of reduced external noise and distinctive internal chemistry creates the conditions for a depth of integration that ordinary waking quiet, however peaceful, leaves incomplete. What sleep offers is not simply more time for the mind to work. It is a genuinely different kind of working, in a register that wakefulness cannot enter. One of the practical implications of sleep research for creativity is the value of preparation before sleep. Writers, scientists, and designers who report productive subconscious incubation often describe a similar pattern. They engage deeply with the problem during the day. They deliberately hold the question in mind as they prepare for sleep. And they keep a notebook nearby to capture whatever arrives in the morning, moments before full waking consciousness reasserts itself. The hypnopompic state, the transition from sleeping to waking, carries many of the same associative qualities as the hypnagogic state at the other end of sleep. The threshold between sleeping and waking, in both directions. appears to be a place where the subconscious and conscious minds briefly overlap. Neuroscientists studying the brain during rest have identified a shift in the relationship between two large-scale networks. The default mode network, active during rest and self-referential thinking, and the executive control network, active during focused tasks, tend to be anti-correlated during waking. When one is active, the other quiets. During certain stages of sleep, this anti-correlation relaxes. The two networks can be simultaneously active, allowing a kind of processing that combines the broad, associative character of default mode activity with more structured integration. Some researchers have proposed that this dual activation during sleep is part of what allows the brain to extract general principles from specific experiences, finding the pattern beneath the particular, the wisdom within the event. Inner peace, when examined through the lens of neuroscience, tends to be associated with a particular pattern of brain activity. Regions associated with self-referential rumination, the tendency to replay worries and revisit past difficulties, show reduced activation in people who report high levels of psychological well-being. Meanwhile, regions associated with present moment awareness and perspective-taking tend to show greater activity. Sleep appears to support this pattern in at least two ways. First, by reducing the emotional intensity of difficult memories through nocturnal reprocessing. Second, by restoring the prefrontal regulation that allows self-referential thinking to be held with distance rather than entanglement. A well-slept mind is not simply calmer. It is differently organized, in a way that makes peace more accessible. The experience of waking with an answer that was not available the night before is common enough that many languages have developed specific expressions for it. The English phrase, "the morning brings counsel," has equivalents in dozens of languages. Research has confirmed that the morning, specifically the transition from sleep to waking, is often associated with insight. During this transition, the brain shifts from the internally focused processing of sleep toward engagement with the external world. If the subconscious has been working on a problem, the emerging waking consciousness can sometimes catch what the sleeping mind has found. Like a net lowered into a stream and pulled back up at the right moment. Keeping the net ready, keeping the notebook nearby, is an act of practical collaboration with one's own subconscious. Sleep research has increasingly emphasized the importance of sleep continuity alongside sleep duration. A night of 8 hours of fragmented sleep does not produce the same cognitive benefits as 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. The cycling through sleep stages, from lighter to deeper and back again, appears to be part of what makes sleep biologically effective. Each stage contributes something distinct. When the cycle is repeatedly interrupted, the transitions between stages are disrupted, and the cumulative benefit of moving smoothly through the full arc of the night is reduced. This is one reason that the quality of the sleeping environment, its darkness, its temperature, its freedom from sound intrusion, matters not only for comfort, but for the depth and completeness of subconscious processing. The brain's relationship to novelty changes during sleep. During wakefulness, the brain tends to process new information in relation to existing frameworks, fitting the unfamiliar into what is already known. During sleep, researchers have observed a different pattern. Novel associations, connections between things that were not obviously related during wakefulness, appear to form more readily. This is sometimes described as the integration of remote associates. Ideas from distant domains. Experiences separated by time or context find each other in the sleeping brain in ways they would not during the focused processing of the waking day. This is part of why sleeping on a problem sometimes produces a solution that feels entirely new, that seems to come from somewhere unexpected. It does, in a sense. It comes from the place where the expected rules are temporarily suspended. The practice of journaling before sleep has been studied as a method of improving both sleep quality and subconscious processing. Specifically, writing a short list of tasks planned for the following day appears to help the brain offload the mild vigilance associated with holding those plans in working memory. In a study measuring time to sleep onset, participants who wrote to-do lists before bed fell asleep significantly faster than those who wrote about completed tasks. The conscious mind, once it has externalized its plans, may feel more free to release its hold on the present and allow the transition to sleep. The subconscious, for its part, may be better able to proceed without the interference of unresolved planning. Writing it down is, neurologically, a form of letting it go. We are at the halfway point of this journey, and what has emerged is a picture not of the subconscious as something hidden, mysterious, and inaccessible, but of a system that is always present, always working, always processing. The subconscious is not a separate self with its own agenda. It is continuous with who you are. Its work during sleep is the continuation of your thinking, your feeling, your search for meaning and clarity, conducted in a register that does not require your conscious participation. Inner peace, in this light, is not something the conscious mind achieves alone through effort and discipline. It is something the whole mind, waking and sleeping together, gradually arrives at. The subconscious is not outside you. It is the larger part of you, quietly doing its patient, essential work. Let each breath guide you to realize this moment is yours. While the world continues to turn, to think, to worry, to rush forward, this second, this breath, this stillness is uniquely yours. The subconscious has been working without your effort since the moment you lay down. You don't need to contribute anything more to it tonight. It knows what to do with everything you've given it. Cherish this present moment, knowing that right now, your mind is tending to itself. You can simply rest inside that. And we continue drifting. The subconscious is extraordinarily good at pattern recognition. Long before the conscious mind can articulate why something feels right or wrong, the subconscious has already assessed a vast range of incoming information and arrived at a provisional evaluation. What people describe as intuition or a gut feeling is, in many cases, the surface expression of rapid, implicit processing that the conscious mind is not privy to. Sleep supports this capacity by allowing the brain to update its pattern libraries. Each night of sleep integrates new experience into the cumulative model of the world that the subconscious maintains, refining its predictions and its responses to what each new day might bring. Research into the neuroscience of insight has found that insights often arrive when a person's mind is in a relatively unfocused state. Walking, showering, doing simple, repetitive tasks, and the moments just before sleep all produce conditions in which insights tend to appear. The common thread is reduced external attention demand, which allows internal processing to surface. Scientists sometimes refer to this as incubation, the period during which a problem is not being actively worked on but is still being processed at a subconscious level. Sleep is the deepest and most sustained version of this incubation. It is not an interruption of the problem-solving process. It is among its most productive phases. The sleeping brain does not only consolidate the memories of the day just past, it also integrates those memories into a much larger structure of existing knowledge, built across all previous days of experience. Every new fact, every new emotional experience, every newly encountered pattern joins a web of associations that extends throughout the brain. Sleep is the time when the weaving happens, when the new threads are worked into the existing fabric. This is why the same piece of information can be understood quite differently after sleep than before it. Not because the information has changed, but because its position in the web of everything already known has been clarified, deepened, and extended. There is a phenomenon researchers call sleep-dependent insight, referring specifically to insights that appear to require sleep to emerge. In studies, participants who slept between learning a complex rule and being tested on it were more likely to discover a simpler underlying principle than those who remained awake. The insight was not accessible through continued waking effort alone. It required the specific processing that sleep provided. This suggests that some forms of understanding are genuinely not available to the waking mind. No matter how hard it works, they are only available after sleep has done what waking cannot. Some truths, it seems, can only be arrived at by letting go. The neurochemistry of sleep creates conditions for certain kinds of thinking that wakefulness cannot easily replicate. During REM sleep, the brain enters a state in which its normal filtering tendencies relax. The associations that waking thought would have pruned for being too distant, too unrelated, or too unconventional become more likely to form. Ideas that occupied completely separate regions of thought during the day can find each other in the quiet of the night. This loosening is not random. It appears to follow the contours of emotional significance and personal relevance, tracing the pathways that matter most. The creative connections REM sleep makes are not accidents. They are the product of a chemistry that only sleep can produce. Napping has been studied as a concentrated version of the nocturnal benefits of sleep. A nap of 60 to 90 minutes, long enough to include a full sleep cycle, has been found to restore many of the cognitive benefits associated with a full night of sleep, at least temporarily. Memory consolidation, emotional regulation, and creative problem-solving all show improvements following naps of this length. Even shorter naps of 10 to 20 minutes improve alertness and mood, though they do not provide the same depth of subconscious processing. The research on napping is consistent with a broader understanding of sleep as not simply a nightly event, but a capacity the brain is always ready to engage, given the opportunity and the permission. Inner peace is sometimes described in psychological literature as a stable trait, something some people seem naturally to possess more of than others. But research increasingly suggests that it is also a state, something that can be cultivated and that fluctuates with biological conditions, including sleep. People's reported levels of emotional well-being and sense of inner calm follow sleep quality closely, day to day, week to week, On nights of better sleep, measures of positive affect rise and negative affect diminishes. The relationship between sleep and peace is bidirectional. Better sleep supports greater peace, and a greater sense of peace supports better sleep. Each reinforces the other in a cycle that, once established, becomes self-sustaining. The subconscious processes not only the factual content of experience, but its emotional tone. Researchers studying affect during sleep have found that emotional memories undergo a kind of recalibration overnight. The specific details of an upsetting experience tend to be preserved, but the emotional intensity associated with those details diminishes with sleep. This process appears to depend on REM sleep in particular. People with disrupted REM sleep show less of this emotional softening. The memory remains, but retains more of its original charge. Adequate REM sleep allows the emotional weight of experiences to settle to a more manageable level, not erasing what happened, but allowing it to be held with less heaviness. Sleep is, among other things, a daily recalibration of what it costs you to remember. Ancient wisdom traditions across many cultures developed practices for what might be called intentional sleep. Deliberate attention to the dream state, to the quality of transition between waking and sleeping, to the psychological material that arose during the night. What these traditions recognized, in their own frameworks, was that the sleeping hours were not simply lost time. They were a resource. Modern sleep science has arrived at a similar conclusion through entirely different methods. The hours of sleep are not merely recovery. They are active. They are productive. They are, in many cases, the hours in which the most important psychological work of the day takes place. The subconscious is not perfectly aligned with the conscious mind's goals. It processes what is emotionally significant, not necessarily what is practically urgent. It prioritizes what is personally meaningful. What carries the weight of your history, your fears, your deepest questions? This is sometimes experienced as dreaming about the wrong things, the half-forgotten face, the strange landscape with no obvious relevance. But the subconscious may be attending to emotional relevance that the conscious mind has not yet recognized. What appears trivial on the surface may carry an associative weight beneath it that the sleeping brain has detected. The subconscious, in this sense, is always attending to what matters most. It is simply not always attending to what the conscious mind believes matters most. The phenomenon of the tip of the tongue state, in which a person knows they know something but cannot access it consciously, often resolves during or after sleep. The memory, which felt unreachable during waking hours, surfaces with apparent ease in the morning. This is one of the more accessible illustrations of how the subconscious holds information that the conscious mind cannot immediately retrieve, and how sleep facilitates its retrieval. The subconscious is not keeping the information from you. It simply retrieves at a different speed, using different pathways, with different access conditions. Sleep is one of the few times its full holdings become briefly available. The science of sleep and the science of mindfulness are increasingly in conversation with each other. Both involve a deliberate engagement with the mind's natural tendency to process and integrate experience. Both show measurable effects on brain structure with consistent practice. Long-term meditators show differences in cortical thickness in regions associated with attention and self-awareness. long-term healthy sleepers, similarly, show healthier patterns of connectivity between brain regions involved in emotional regulation and memory. The two practices are not interchangeable, but they may reinforce each other in ways that researchers are only beginning to explore. A mind that practices stillness during waking hours may find the transition to sleep and the quality of sleep itself gently enriched. There is a quality of attention associated with inner peace that psychologists sometimes call open monitoring. In this mode, attention is not directed at any particular object but is spread broadly, receptive rather than searching. It is the opposite of the narrowing, goal-directed attention of focused problem-solving. Interestingly, the brain activity associated with this open, receptive wakefulness shares some characteristics with the activity observed during certain stages of sleep. The most integrative processing of both states may happen in this quality of broad, undirected attentiveness. The quiet, wandering mind, whether sleeping or gently awake, may be doing some of its most valuable work precisely because it is not trying to. Research on the relationship between sleep and empathy has shown that insufficient sleep impairs the ability to accurately read others' emotional states. People who have not slept adequately show reduced activation in brain regions involved in social cognition and emotional recognition. They become less able to detect subtle cues in facial expressions and tone of voice. The capacity for compassion and connection, for understanding another person's inner life, appears to depend partly on the quality of one's own sleep. Inner peace, in this sense, extends outward. A well-rested person is not only more at peace internally, they are more able to recognize and respond to the emotional experience of those around them. Sleep is, in ways that might not be immediately obvious, a foundation of human connection. The sleeping brain does not only process the experiences of the most recent day. Research suggests it has a longer time horizon. Memories from many days, weeks, and sometimes years prior can be reactivated during sleep, particularly during REM. This distant reactivation may contribute to the gradual building of wisdom, the sense in which patterns that were not obvious when events occurred become clearer over time, as the sleeping brain revisits them across many nights and slowly draws connections that the original experience did not yet permit. Wisdom, in this view, is not simply the accumulation of experience. It is the cumulative product of many nights of sleeping on experience, of allowing the subconscious to do what it does with everything you have lived. The relationship between sleep and creativity has practical implications that are now being taken seriously in organizational and educational contexts. Research groups studying workplace productivity have found connections between sleep quality and the kind of innovative thinking that organizations most value. Schools have begun examining the consequences of early start times for adolescents, whose circadian rhythms shift later during puberty, leading to reduced sleep opportunity when required to attend class early in the morning. The subconscious does not only solve personal problems, it solves the problems of the world. And it does so most effectively when it is given adequate time and conditions to work. The morning hours after waking, sometimes called the hypnopompic period, carry a particular quality of mental openness that many people recognize without having a name for it. The transition from sleep to full wakefulness takes time. During this period, the brain is moving from the internally focused processing of sleep toward external engagement. In this transition, The associative networks that were active during sleep have not yet fully closed. Ideas surface with unusual ease. Connections that would take effort to form later in the day arise spontaneously. Many writers, composers, and scientists describe keeping a notebook or recording device within reach of the bed precisely for this window. The subconscious, in these moments, is briefly willing to share what it has been doing all night. Sleep researchers have documented a phenomenon they call the offline reactivation of emotional memory, in which emotionally charged experiences are preferentially replayed and integrated during sleep. This reactivation appears to serve the function of placing those experiences in a broader temporal context, allowing them to be understood as episodes in a larger narrative rather than as isolated, overwhelming moments. Inner peace may be partly a matter of narrative coherence, the sense that one's experiences, even the painful ones, fit into a story that has meaning and continuity. Sleep appears to support this narrative integration, working through the night to build the coherence that allows the next morning to begin from a place of greater settledness. The body's circadian clock, a roughly 24-hour biological rhythm maintained by a cluster of neurons in the hypothalamus, coordinates the timing of sleep with the timing of many other biological processes. Cortisol rises before waking to prepare the body for the demands of the day. Core body temperature drops in the evening to facilitate the transition to sleep. Melatonin production increases as light levels fall, signaling the brain to begin the transition toward rest. These rhythms are not merely convenient scheduling. They are deeply integrated into the biology of health. Disrupting them through irregular sleep timing or chronic exposure to bright light at night has measurable consequences, not only for sleep quality, but for metabolic health, mood regulation, and immune function. The body is not indifferent to when you sleep. It is organized around it. The concept of inner peace is sometimes conflated with the absence of difficulty or challenge. But psychologists studying well-being consistently find that peace is not the same as the absence of adversity. It is, more accurately, a stable relationship with adversity, a quality of groundedness that allows difficulty to be encountered without destabilization. Sleep supports this groundedness physiologically. By maintaining the neural architecture of equanimity, the well-slept person does not face fewer difficulties than the exhausted one. They face the same difficulties from a more stable place. And that stability, reliably, makes all the difference. Research into dreaming and its relationship to waking life has explored the question of whether dream content reflects the concerns that the subconscious is most actively processing. Studies using sleep diaries and experience sampling have found moderate correlations between what people think about during the day and what they dream about at night. The most emotionally significant daytime experiences are the most likely to appear in dreams. This lends some support to the idea that dream content, while often strange and non-literal, carries information about what the mind is working on. The subconscious does not always communicate in straightforward language, but it does communicate. And paying gentle attention to the themes that recur in dreams may offer a quiet window into the work that is being done. The human capacity for hope is closely related to the capacity for imagining possible futures. Research has shown that hope, in the psychological sense, involves not only the desire for good outcomes, but the sense that pathways to those outcomes exist and that one has the agency to follow them. Sleep appears to support this capacity through the same neural mechanisms that support creativity and problem-solving. A well-rested mind is better able to generate multiple possible approaches to a challenge. It is less likely to see a situation as fixed, more likely to see it as navigable. Sleep does not solve the problems of a life, but it maintains the cognitive and emotional flexibility that keeps those problems feeling solvable. It is, in this quiet way, a daily renewal of hope. Researchers studying the developmental aspects of sleep have found that the proportion of REM sleep changes across the lifespan. Newborn infants spend roughly half of their sleep time in REM, a proportion that declines across childhood and adolescence and stabilizes in adulthood. The high REM proportion in infancy may reflect the enormous volume of new experience and neural connection being processed in those early years. The developing brain has a great deal to integrate, and the sleeping hours provide the time and the neurological conditions to do it. What does not change across the lifespan is the fundamental function. At every age, the sleeping brain is doing the same patient, essential work, the subjective experience of inner peace. When people describe it in their own words, tends to include a quality of presence, not the absence of thought, but a different relationship with thought. Thoughts are noticed without being fully identified with. They arise and pass without the same urgency they might carry during periods of anxiety or rumination. Sleep may support this quality of presence by what it does overnight to recently charged memories. When the emotional weight of experiences has been gently reduced by nocturnal processing, it becomes easier to encounter thoughts associated with those experiences without being captured by them. The peace that follows good sleep is not passive. It is the active quality of a mind that has processed what it needed to process and is ready, with slightly more freedom, to simply be. And so, 3/4 of the way through this quiet journey, an answer is beginning to take shape. The subconscious does not solve problems the way a calculator solves equations. It works continuously, across the full arc of life, integrating everything into everything else, finding where the new piece fits in the larger picture, locating the emotional context for each experience, tracing the associative threads that connect what happened today to what happened years ago. Sleep is not a break in this work. It is the conditions in which the deepest and most integrative parts of it happen. And inner peace is not something separate from this process. It is, in some ways, its long-term outcome. You might be feeling tired now. That is perfectly fine. Breathe slowly. Feel the cycles. Your breath moves in and out. Your heart beats and rests and beats again. Your mind moves between attention and release, between waking and sleep, between effort and surrender. All of life is cycles. You are part of that eternal movement. You don't need to hold on to anything tonight. The subconscious will continue its work. You have given it everything it needs. Let everything unfold in its perfect order, like a tide that turns without being asked, unhurried, unresisting, simply flowing. We're almost there now. You have been solving problems your entire life without knowing it. Every morning that brought unexpected clarity, every moment when the right words arrived before you had searched for them, every time the path forward became visible in the quiet after a good night's rest. These were not accidents. They were the subconscious, delivering what it had prepared. You are more capable than your waking mind alone suggests. The sleeping brain prefers certain kinds of questions, not the ones that demand immediate answers, but the ones that are held gently, with genuine curiosity, without urgency. The ones you fall asleep still wondering about. Those are the questions the subconscious finds most interesting. Those are the ones it works on most freely, with the full range of its associative resources, through the long, quiet hours of the night. Creativity is not a gift possessed by a few. It is a function of the brain available to all, expressed most freely when the conditions are right. Sleep is one of those conditions. The capacity for novel connection, for unexpected insight, for seeing a problem from an angle that had not been considered, is available to any mind that is given adequate rest. It is not reserved for the exceptional. It is the ordinary inheritance of a well-sleeping brain. The relationship between night and insight is ancient. The darkness has always been associated, across cultures, with a different kind of knowing. Not the sharp, focused knowing of daylight and rational analysis, but something broader, softer, arriving without effort. Science has now found the mechanisms behind this long-held intuition. The darkness of sleep provides the neurochemical and neurological conditions in which a different kind of knowing genuinely becomes available. The night is not the opposite of understanding. It is a different quality of it. Inner peace is not a destination. It is a quality of relationship with the present moment, cultivated gradually, supported biologically, and renewed each night through sleep. You do not arrive at peace and stay there forever. You return to it, again and again, through the ordinary rhythms of rest and waking. Each night of sleep is one such return. Not perfect, not final, but real and available and waiting. The brain is not waiting for perfect conditions to do its work. It works in every sleep, however brief or fragmented. Even an imperfect night of sleep contributes something to the long process of integration and renewal. The subconscious does not require optimal conditions to function. It requires only permission, and permission is given simply by lying down, closing your eyes, and allowing the body to do what it has always known how to do. Memories that seem lost during waking sometimes surface during or after sleep. The retrieval mechanisms of the sleeping brain have access to pathways that waking attention cannot follow. Something forgotten for years can appear in a dream, fully formed. A name that would not come during the day arrives quietly in the morning. The subconscious holds more than the conscious mind can access. Sleep is one of the few times its full holdings become briefly available. The quality of your first thought upon waking is influenced by what happened during the night. People who have slept well tend to wake into a mental landscape that feels more spacious, more open to possibility, more capable of meeting the day. This is not coincidence or mood alone. It is the direct result of the subconscious processing that has occurred. The morning mind reflects the night's work, and the quality of that work depends on the conditions in which it was allowed to happen. There is a wisdom in the body that the mind sometimes resists. The body knows when it is tired. It sends clear signals: heaviness in the limbs, a softening of the eyes, a quieting of the impulse toward activity. These signals are the body's invitation to allow the deeper work to begin. Accepting the invitation is, in a real sense, an act of trust. Trust that the waking mind does not need to be in charge of everything. Trust that something reliable and capable continues in its absence. The association between sleep and healing is one of the oldest in human culture. Ancient physicians in Greece, Egypt, and China all recognized sleep as central to recovery from illness. Modern medicine has confirmed this recognition in molecular detail. Sleep supports immune function, hormonal balance, cellular repair, and the consolidation of healing processes that proceed more slowly during wakefulness. The body heals best in the dark, in stillness, in the long quiet of the night. This applies to psychological healing as surely as it does to the physical kind. The subconscious does not draw a sharp line between the personal and the universal. When it processes one person's experience, it works with the full weight of everything that person has ever known, including stories heard in childhood, patterns noticed in the world, the accumulated emotional knowledge of an entire life. A single night's problem-solving draws on all of it. In this sense, the subconscious is vast. It is the mind's full inheritance, working quietly in the service of the present moment. What we call intuition is often the subconscious speaking, not in words, but in a quality of feeling, a sense of direction, a subtle pull toward one option rather than another, before the reasoning has caught up. Research into expert intuition has found that experienced practitioners in many fields develop reliable intuitive responses precisely because their subconscious has processed countless examples and extracted patterns that the conscious mind cannot fully articulate. The pattern is real. The processing is real. Only the language is missing. Sleep supports the depth of this processing by providing the conditions for pattern extraction that waking attention cannot sustain. The most creative solutions tend to arrive quietly, not with fanfare, not during periods of intense effort, but in the gentle moments of transition, between sleeping and waking, between one thought and the next, in the pause after effort, when the mind has released its grip and something deeper has had room to move. Sleep creates many such pauses. It is, in its way, the longest pause available to the human mind. And in that pause, quietly and without announcement, the subconscious does its most original work. Peace is not the absence of complexity. The subconscious processes complexity constantly, through the full arc of a sleeping night. What sleep offers is not simplicity, but integration. The sense, upon waking, that the complexity of the previous day has been met and in some way absorbed, not resolved in every detail, but received, held, made part of the larger pattern, rather than left as an isolated intrusion. Integration is not the same as resolution, but it is, for the mind, a form of rest. And so the answer to the question this video began with is emerging from the night itself. How does your subconscious solve problems while you sleep? It does so through replay, through association, through the loosening of the constraints that waking thought maintains. It does so by holding your questions in a space where the rules of linear reasoning do not apply, where distant connections can form freely, where the emotional weight of experience can settle to a manageable level. It does this every night. It has been doing it your entire life. The subconscious is patient. It does not rush. It does not worry about the morning. It works through the night at its own pace, in its own order, following threads you cannot see, making connections you would not have thought to make. This patience is not passivity. It is a different mode of engagement, one that requires no effort from you, one that proceeds most freely when you stop trying to direct it and simply allow it to work. Inner peace, arrived at through the support of sleep, is not passive either. It is an active equilibrium, a balance between the mind's natural tendency toward engagement and its equally natural capacity for rest. Neither pure effort nor pure surrender. The interplay of both. Across the rhythm of days and nights, waking and sleeping, holding and releasing. This rhythm is not something to achieve. It is something to return to. It is already yours. The brain that wakes after a night of good sleep is genuinely different from the one that went to sleep. Not permanently transformed, but temporarily reorganized. Connections have formed that did not exist before. Memories have settled into new arrangements. Emotional charges have softened. A problem that felt intractable may now have visible edges. A question that seemed overwhelming may now feel approachable. Sleep does not change the world. It changes the mind that is going to meet the world in the morning. And that, quietly, changes everything. You have always had access to more than you know. The subconscious has been gathering, integrating, and quietly working with the full accumulation of your experience since the beginning of your life. You carry more wisdom, more pattern recognition, more capacity for connection than the waking mind can hold in view at any one time. Sleep is one of the ways you access that larger self. Not by forcing it, not by searching, but by resting into it, by trusting that what you cannot see is still there, still working, still tending to the questions that matter most. The most important thing the subconscious does while you sleep may not be solving any particular problem. It may be maintaining the integrity of the self, the sense of who you are, built from memory and pattern and accumulated experience, is not a fixed thing. It requires ongoing maintenance. The sleeping brain does this work every night, quietly sorting and weaving, keeping the narrative coherent, keeping the pattern recognizable, keeping the self continuous across the discontinuity of sleep. You wake each morning as yourself because something has been tending to that continuity all night long. Quietly, reliably, without your awareness or your help. The sleeping mind is not somewhere else. It is here, in the same body, the same room, the same life, just operating in a different register. A register that is quieter, broader, less focused, and in its own way more capable. The distance between your sleeping and waking mind is smaller than it seems. They are the same mind, in different states, doing different parts of the same long work. There is a comfort in knowing that the work continues without you, that while you rest, something capable and patient and oriented toward your well-being is moving through the material of your life, making sense of it. You are not alone in the work of being yourself. The subconscious is always there, always tending. Tonight, as on every night, it is already at work. The deepest form of inner peace may be this: The quiet recognition that something within you knows what it is doing and that you can trust it, not as an act of faith in something external, but as an acknowledgement of something you have always already had. The subconscious does not ask for your confidence. It simply continues, regardless, but giving it your trust, releasing the effort of conscious oversight, allowing the night to be what the night is for, may be the most restorative thing you can do right now. Tonight, as you have been drifting through these quiet facts, your subconscious has already begun its work. Whatever you heard and half attended to, whatever images arose at the edges of awareness, whatever fragments of thought surfaced and dissolved, all of it has been received. The subconscious does not require your full attention. It works with whatever arrives. And tonight, something will be processed that needed to be processed. Something will settle that was waiting to settle. Something, quietly, will be made a little more whole. And the final truth is this: the answer does not come at the end of a long search. It comes in the quiet, in the willingness to rest, in the trust that the mind, left to its own deep nature, finds its way toward clarity. Inner peace and subconscious wisdom are not destinations reached through effort. They are conditions that emerge when the effort is finally set down. You have been practicing this your entire life. Every night you have slept, you have been practicing. And tonight is no different. The work is already underway. The peace is already possible. All that remains is to let yourself arrive here, fully, and rest. And so, our quiet journey through the sleeping mind comes to a gentle close. We began with the first stirrings of memory consolidation in those early hours of the night, and we followed the thread all the way through to the morning window, when last night's work briefly surfaces into the light. Discovering along the way that the subconscious is not something hidden or separate from you, but the larger, quieter, more patient part of exactly who you are. From the neurochemical quiet of REM sleep, where emotionally charged experiences slowly find their softer edges, to the N1 threshold, where Edison and Dali once deliberately paused to harvest what the dreaming mind had found. We have glimpsed how inner peace and problem-solving are not opposites. They are, at their deepest level, the same patient process. The subconscious reminds us that not all important work is visible. Much of the most essential processing of a human life happens in silence, in the unhurried hours of sleep, in the quiet just before waking, in the spaces between conscious thoughts. It reveals a patience, a trust in process, a willingness to let things unfold that the waking mind sometimes struggles to maintain. Without the night, the day would have no foundation. By pausing to recognize this, we glimpse the extraordinary in the ordinary rhythm of rest. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can. As deep as possible, think about unity. Of every thought you have ever had, every feeling that moved through you, every question you have held, and every answer that arrived without warning, all of it, one continuous mind, tending toward wholeness. Think about the consciousness that is processing this moment right now. That same consciousness will continue through the night, working gently on everything you have given it. You are not separate from that process. You are not waiting for it to begin. It has already begun. Let your entire being dissolve into that quiet understanding, into the soft continuity of self that persists through sleep. Prepare for deep sleep. No boundaries left. Only peace. For anyone still quietly listening, a gentle like, subscribe, or share helps another searching soul find their way here too. One quiet tap, one sleepy soul at a time. But there is no need to do anything now. Nothing at all. You have traveled far tonight. Not across miles, but through something older and quieter. The landscape of the sleeping mind. You can allow these thoughts of the subconscious to fade now, like the last image at the edge of a dream, present for a moment, then gently dissolving into everything, leaving only the still, unheld calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if the quiet weight of all that has been processed tonight is finally setting itself down, not burdening you, simply settling. If sleep comes, let it carry you the way the mind moves from effort into insight, not with force, not with searching, but with the gentle inevitability of something that was always going to arrive, into a realm where time and weight no longer matter. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting for you, ready to continue the journey. But if they're closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, the subconscious will still be there, still tending, still weaving, still working in the quiet hours with everything you have lived and felt and wondered about, still becoming. But tonight belongs to stillness. Rest well, sleepy soul. And remember, the answers you are looking for are already within you, moving quietly through the dark toward the light of morning. Good night.